In the most recent update to Limbus company, the players got their hands on one of the coolest factions in the entirety of the city. The Thumb is one of the 5 largest syndicates, much like the Middle, but its identities are a whole lot hotter, both in terms of their weapons and in terms of looks. The 2 new identities added are Thumb East Capo 4th Meursault and Thumb East Soldato 2nd Sinclair. Both new units combine Tremor and Burn in their kits, and both of them can deal insane damage. But the real question is, how good are they actually? And how do you play them? Also, can they finally pull Tremor out of the depth of hell? In this video, I aim to answer all of these questions and more, by first going over the kits of the new identities and then looking at their performance in Burn and Tremor, before moving on to their unique effect, and how it impacts the Tremor team. But before we do that, allow me to once again shout out Oiprox for helping me with the creation of this video. I have been quite busy for the last couple of days, but his gargantuan contributions allowed the video to come out on time. Also, most of my viewers are not subscribed, so yeah, go do that please. Without further ado, let's get back to the Thumb. We'll start by looking at the kits of both identities. There's a lot to talk about, but I'll try my best to be brief. First, we'll look at Meursault, and then we'll move on to his subordinate. Thumb Capo Meursault is an identity with above average health, a 4 to 6 speed range, and an increased defense level, which allows him to tank a bit of damage before going down. His sin affinity spread consists of Sloth, Lust, and Wrath, with a Sloth defense. His first skill is Double Slash Blast, which reaches the basic 15 power with conditionals, and gains power based on the sum of Burn and Tremor on the enemy, which is the usual conditional for this identity. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 3 Tremor and 2 Burn, with the second coin also consuming 1 Tiger Mark round, which is Meursault's unique ammo. His second skill is Triple Slash Blast, which reaches 20 power and has the same power conditionals as his skill 1, but with a higher cap. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 3 Tremor, 2 Tremor count, 2 Burn, and 2 Burn count. If the target has 3 or more Tremor count, the last coin also bursts Tremor on the enemy. The second and third coins spend ammo, so be aware of that. Meursault's skill 3 is Tangle Cleaver, which reaches 23 power, gains coin power on the same conditional as his other skills, and turns into Meursault's empowered skill 3 if he has Savage Tiger Mark rounds. The coins of the skill all spend ammo, and do a lot of things. The first 2 inflict a total of 3 Tremor potency and count, as well as 3 Burn potency and count. The third coin deals extra damage if it gets to spend ammo, converts Tremor on the enemy into Tremor Scorch, which we'll get to later, bursts Tremor, and then bursts it 2 more times if the coin consumed ammo. The improved version of Meursault's third skill is Savage Tiger Slayer's Perfected Flurry of Blades, which gets the exact same coin power conditional as the normal skill 3, but has 5 coins. The coins of the skill literally do the exact same things as the coins on Tangle Cleaver, so there's no point in reading it all out again. As for his defensive skill, Meursault gets a clashable counter. I'm Burning Up reaches 15 power with conditionals, and clashes at 17 power when Meursault is out of ammo. The coins of the skill inflict a total of 1 Tremor and 1 Tremor count. Now let's move on to the Capo's passives. This part is by far the most convoluted. As for his first passive, Meursault gets... I'm not even going to try pronouncing that. The passive gives him 12 Tiger Mark rounds at encounter start. When Meursault is out of bullets, his attacks don't stop, but they also no longer inflict any burn. Whenever Meursault blocks for the first time, spends all of his ammo or gets staggered, at the end of the turn he loses all of his normal ammo and reloads 8 Savage Tiger Mark rounds, while also getting Unrelenting Spirit. If the passive activates due to damage staggering, Meursault gets out of stagger as well. Additionally, when Meursault uses up a total of 8 ammo of any type, his Unrelenting Spirit is converted into Unrelenting Spirit Shin. Once the Capo uses a skill that would spend the final Savage Tiger Mark round, he gets 2 attack weight before attacking you with that skill, and after he's left with no ammo, Meursault gains 1 overhit. This was his first passive, and now let's move on to the second, which requires 3 slots owned to activate. While Thumb Meursault has his normal ammo, all coins of his basic third skill are unbreakable, and all coins that consume ammo gain 1 power and deal 10% more damage. The passive gets improved when Meursault loads his stronger ammo, as all of his coins become unbreakable, and the coins that consume ammo even stay unbreakable once Meursault has run out of ammo. The coins that spend his rounds gain 2 power and deal 30% extra damage with his stronger ammo loaded, while also inflicting 2 more burn potency and count on hit, as long as the coin has ammo to spend. As for his support passive, who even cares? When are you going to keep him in backup? That's right, never. Instead, let's look at his unique effects, because he has quite a lot. Both of his ammo types behave just like normal ammo, so they're not special themselves. Tremor Scorch, on the other hand, is quite special, as this tremor flavor deals wrath damage by half the stack of tremor and half the stack of burn on the enemy on burst, behaving just like normal tremor otherwise. Now, as for Meursault's unique buffs, Unrelenting Spirit gives Meursault 1 more min and max speed, and allows him to deal extra damage against slower targets. It also makes him inflict more tremor with his skills. Unrelenting Spirit Shin is the improved version of the effect, but it just gets better numbers on everything, making the Capo that much stronger and faster. Overheat is the state that Meursault gets into when he runs out of ammo, and what it does is it increases his speed, forces him to lose clash power based on rounds spent this encounter, but allows him to get a bunch of buffs based on rounds spent as well. He gets up to 5 protection based on missing health after spending 8 rounds, deals extra damage with unbreakable coins at 14 rounds spent, and deals even more damage against enemies with a higher HP percentage than him at 20 rounds spent. All of these effects stack with each other. With this, we're done with Meursault, and because that took so long, let's speed through Sinclair's kit. Somehow he has more HP than Meursault. Same sins, but Pride defense. Skill 1 inflicts tremor and gets power as usual. Skill 2 gets a bunch of bonuses from Burn, Tremor and Unique Tremor, and also has access to Burn Infliction and Tremor Bursting on top of Tremor Infliction. Skill 3 gets a bunch of buffs for free, spends ammo, deals extra damage with each coin when spending ammo, inflicts both burn and tremor, and crucially converts tremor to Tremor Scorch, and bursts tremor up to 3 times. His defense is a boring shield, but his passives are actually important, so let's read them out. His first passive grants him ammo at encounter start, and gives him damage up after spending that ammo. Also, once again, he cannot inflict burn with his skill 3 without spending ammo. His second passive requires 3 Pride Resonance to activate, and allows Sinclair to give an ally up to 5 of his ammo when they use their ammo with their skills. Meursault specifically gets more ammo from this, and Solemn Lament Yi Sung receives a random amount of the living and the departed. As for Sinclair's support passive, it's similar to his combat passive. At 4 Pride Resonance, Sinclair gives one ally with less than half of their total ammo up to 5 bullets, once per encounter. With this, we're done with their kits and we can move on to using the new identities in combat. To fully evaluate their performance, we'll need to look at the Thumb duo in multiple teams. However, before that, let's go through the basic things that Meursault and Sinclair want to do to be useful. First up, Meursault. He's insanely strong, and no one can deny that. However, at times he can be clunky to use, as his resources are pretty rigid. In this way, he's similar to Fire Fist Gregor, as that identity has similar issues when trying to maximize its value. You generally don't want to spend all his normal rounds before switching, but the timing on the switch differs based on the type of content you're up against. In a super quick one-way fight, you might as well counter turn 1 to instantly get the big ammo, but in longer encounters, and in the railway especially, you want to plan out your ammo usage in such a way that you get maximum value from his skill tree 2 being used at the correct turn, with 3 Savage Tiger Mark rounds remaining. The main issue Meursault can run into is drawing his skill 3 too early when he's got Savage Tiger Mark rounds. You don't want to use his skill 3 2 before 3 rounds are left, as that is when it gets the AoE, so you're just forced to spam the top slot. When you do end up using the AoE skill 3 2, you will obviously do insane damage, inflict Tremor Scorch to a group, yada yada yada. But you can also go again. Using the reload from Sinclair's passive, you can give Meursault more Savage Tiger Mark rounds, allowing him to wreak havoc for a couple of extra turns. Once more, drawing skill 3 too early is pretty bad here, but if you draw it late, it's not that big of a deal, as you can stall with Meursault's counter. As for ego usage, Meur has access to 2 awesome ego skills in Screw Loose Wallop and Regret, and both of them have their ups and downs, but I've seen more people talk about Regret. Anyways, no matter which skill you use, you will sacrifice a bit of tempo for a constant buff, which is useful if you're in a long fight, or if you simply don't fully optimize the timing on the Capo's skill 3 too. Sinclair on the other hand does not have this kind of depth, instead he's just incredibly solid at all times. He gets a bunch of extra damage very easily, and gets effectively 3 damage up when using his skill 3 or proccing his passive. He also gets Tremor Scorch that's very easy to inflict and requires no outside help, while getting a bunch of Tremor Bursts in his kit, allowing him to use said effect. The one thing I need to say about Sinclair is that if you want the reload on Meursault, you add him on the field in the vast majority of scenarios. Having him in the backup forces you to chain 4 Pride skills for ammo, which can simply be impossible for a lot of Burn or Tremor teams, especially considering that Sinclair's own defense skill is what allows you to chain 3 Pride in the first place. As for if you want the reload or not, it's once again up to you to decide based on content you're up against. But generally, Sinclair is just good, so he's worth using anyways. Now let's look at the duo in Burn and how they perform there. And their presence changes, well, nothing. The Burn game plan goes as usual, but you simply improve the ID quality by bringing in the Thumb duo. If you want the reload, I'd recommend going for Magic Bullet Otis, LCE Faust and the Thumb duo as core, with IDs like Fire Fist, Lu Rodia and Lu Yisang added on. Fire Fist is just good, as you all should know, and the same goes for Lu Yisang. Lu Rodya has the advantage of having a Pride skill 1, so that can be useful, especially after LCE Faust explodes. For 6 Sinner content, Lu Rodya can chill in the backup and come out as soon as Faust blows up. If you don't want the reload, you will probably end up running Don Sinclair instead, as he's just kind of the best option to fill Sinclair's position. As for any burn-specific buttons to press, Meursault gets Capoed, which can help inflict a lot of tremor for some scorch value. However, it's not going to be that much value, considering that the Thumb duo are the only ones bursting tremor in this team. Still, it's extra damage, and extra damage is always good. Now let's move on to the Tremor team, which is widely considered to be among the weakest of the status teams. So how does the Thumb duo impact a team of this quality? Well, unlike in Burn, in Tremor the new identities change everything. This mostly has to do with the addition of Tremor Scorch, and it makes the 2 new identities a must-have if you want to run that team. Tremor gets stacked very easily. Even if we forgo the stacking of Burn, just dealing 20 to 30 damage plus increasing the enemy's stagger threshold per burst is a huge bonus, and sets up the enemy to get murdered by the classic Tremor damage burst turn quite nicely. Battle Trenum, you might say. Tremor Reverb already gave us damage on burst, and it's even better than Scorch. So why are we glazing the new flavor again? Well, the difference in the damage output is certainly noticeable, but the same can be said for the accessibility of both Tremor souls. Reverb requires the usage of Cavernous Wailing Honglu, which is an ego and thus needs ego resources. Additionally, Eurodive Honglu was cursed with both getting a good ego skill and a skill 3 that wants you to ramp up self-tremor beforehand with other skills. Pulling out one of Honglu's skills out of the sequence to replace it with Cavernous Wailing gimps his tempo and makes his empowered skill 3 come too late. Additionally, his empowered skill 3 didn't really see much value because you didn't have another good tremor type to entangle. However, can you guess what solves both of those issues? That's right, Tremor Scorch. Honglu is no longer forced to hit a Cavernous Wailing at the start of a fight or wave, as the tremor bursts of his allies can find value in hitting a stack of Scorch, and the Scorch plus Reverb entanglement is an insane damage setup, guaranteeing to destroy any boss. But Honglu is not the only winner from the addition of the Thumb to Tremor, as any ID with a bunch of Tremor bursts across their kit, as well as IDs with Pride skills, all greatly benefit from the duo's appearance. We're talking Molar Otis, Regret Faust, both Tremor Rodyas, both Tremor Ishmaels, and maybe even Uffy Heathcliff. Well, probably not him. I don't think I need to explain to you why these IDs are so good, so let me shout out an ego that benefits greatly from the addition of Scorch. Effervescent Corrosion Rodya. Also, I just realized this ego has corrosion in the name, so if you corrode it, do you really say Effervescent Corrosion? That's kinda dumb. Anyways, this ego hits in an area of effect and inflicts a 3-7 tremor stack, while also bursting tremor on all enemies hit for just 6 resources. Usually, to get damage out of this, you would need to combine it with Cavernous Wailing and or Corroded Everlasting, which ramps up the cost. But now you can set up AoE Scorch with a Meursault skill 2 in a long encounter or railway for free, allowing Effervescent Corrosion to shine. So yeah, I kinda wanted to separate the effects of the Thumb duo and Tremor Scorch on the Tremor team, but it ended up mixing together. Overall, both new units are quite cracked, and their unique effect would probably make them must-haves for the team, even if they themselves were much weaker. Now let me touch up on some additional info regarding Meursault and Sinclair. After totally running out of ammo, Meursault enters Overheat, where he kind of becomes, to claim their bones, the Identity. However, he lacks the damage of that skill, so realistically he's just Yield My Flesh, the Identity, instead. He keeps losing clashes, and the game expects you to make him take damage and hit back when he's in Overheat. This will eventually kill him, and it's just not that great of an idea overall. Instead, what you should do is just go unopposed with his skills and focus on inflicting and bursting tremor, which is something Meursault can still do, even without ammo. But for Burn, it's safe to say that his hands get cut off once he is in Overheat, as he doesn't get his usual damage and doesn't get any burn infliction either, relegating him to pressing Capote and trying to use Scorch with his bursts. Speaking of Capote, he can press it in Overheat in either team and find success, so at least he has that going for him. But realistically, Burn will kill the boss with Dark Flame long before Meur has to worry about Overheat in most cases. And Tremor can just nuke things down as well. Overheat seems to be more of a railway thing, which by no means makes it irrelevant, but you know. As for Sinclair, don't forget he can reload anybody, and not just Meursault. So if you have no one else, you can slot him into Poise as a support for Full Stop Heathcliff, for example. As much as he is just a goon to Meursault lore-wise, he can still work quite well independently in gameplay. And with this, my review of the Thumb East Capo 4th Meursault and Thumb East Soldato 2nd Sinclair is over. The two identities are as busted as you would expect them to be. Not quite nerf-worthy, so not Mao Faust level, but still insanely good. It's nice to see Burn and Tremor support in the middle of the Rupture season, as Tremor specifically needed this buff more than almost any other team. If you disagree or have something to add, leave a comment below, and I promise to read each and every one of them. If you enjoyed the video at any point, leave a like to let me know, and consider subscribing to see more content like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye.
탓할 것도 없이 제 몫을 못했으니 부족함의 대가를 치러야죠.